this computer does not seem to be working so that I can see you, but I'll give a presentation about pathogens today. These are pathogens that are really related to cancer that I can prove. So I was able to put them on the WAVwatch, and I feel very comfortable because there's so much information out that they are connected with cancer. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that the WAVwatch does anything for cancer, that it cures it, or it does anything like that. There are no studies done on it. It's not FDA approved for that. We're not saying that at all. Just giving you some ideas. So here's the WAVwatch disclaimer. It offers low risk acoustical frequency products. And this is good to encourage health or reduce the impact or risk of chronic diseases. The WAVwatch is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or medical condition. It's not a licensed medical product. Everything's considered experimental. And again, I've already mentioned it's not FDA approved or registered as a medical device. Everybody's testimonies are volunteer. No one's been reimbursed. We do use some words. We use that C word a lot, especially in this one, but this isn't only in relationship to the commonly used names of disease, and it's not a medical diagnosis. So most of you have seen this before, and is everybody still hearing okay?
Yes, I am.
We can hear you,
Okay,
Linda.
I'm just kind of nervous. Thank you.
Yeah, we're here.
All right. Okay. So anyway, we're able to see that, you can wear the WAVwatch usually on your left hand. It's a little bit better. You absorb energy through the left hand and you share it through your energy shared through your right hand. So that's why we want to wear it on the left. And I do see on my website that there are a couple of pictures that my website, designer took some pictures of somebody with the watch on the right hand, but it really is preferred if you wear it on the left hand. And again, each of these frequency sets are like a song. And just like if you're, driving and listening to the radio, sometimes your body is going to hum along with whatever song's on the radio. And if it doesn't like that song, you're just not near as energetic, or you don't react to it in some way. And your body just tunes out that song, or your ears kind of close it off and, let it go. Doesn't upset your system. And that's the same thing with frequencies on the WAVwatch. So I've tried to do a lot of work for you. I've tried to make playlists. So that's what all the icons are for, because we have 850 frequencies. So hopefully you'll be able to find all of the detox frequencies there are just by touching the detox icon. If you're concerned about Lyme disease, those are there in one icon all by itself. Now, some of them we had so much information that I had to divide that. You can click into the women's icon and it has lots of different ideas. So you would need to drill down just a couple of levels, but still those playlists are intentionally made for you. But sometimes you might want to make your own playlist, and that's okay too. And then again, just for explanation, the length of the frequency gives you information. So they do say that frequencies 8 minutes are a very good time period to play that. And so I have made it where you will repeat that frequency. That's what they suggest, is that you play it for 8 minutes and then let your body relax and then play it again another 8 minutes, some of those ideas. So if the frequency set is 8 minutes, it's just that by itself. If it's 15 minutes, I've also added a few other ideas, maybe inflammation, pain, and trauma, which is my favorite frequency. And then if it's a 30-minute frequency or more, it has several combinations that have worked together. So if you loop something that's 30 minutes, it's really playing in a good time period to play that 8-minute frequency set and then replay it again when you are looping it. Another thing about the WAVwatch, there's hundreds of sound frequencies, no cords or messy patches. It's not connected to the internet. And sometimes I have people that are so helpful for me and they want me to make an app and put it on a cell phone. And that really negates everything that I've tried to do. We do not want to be connected to the internet. There's no monthly fee. it's inclusive, even for the hard of hearing, and it's very cost effective. Now, we're finally switching to what I wanted to talk about today, and that's pathogens that are connected with cancer. So many people did not realize until the development of the cervical cancer vaccine that there were connections between viruses, parasites, mold, fungi, and bacteria that have been established. Wow. And I always say, the power of the drug company advertisements. They're not letting you know at all that there are connections. So there's been quite a controversy, and I think some of you, because you're frequency fanatics, you already know this, but I just wanted to have it here and make sure that you can pass the information around if you need to. But Dr. Royal Rife is really connected since the 1900s with frequencies, especially for viruses and cancer. And he actually had 16 terminally ill cancer patients that were declared cured after a 3-month time period. And there's pictures of him in the paper with 20, prominent doctors. And somehow all these records were lost and destroyed, and those doctors were ostracized and kicked out, and all kinds of hassling. And this really started with the AMA, when it was founded, and lots of history of this. But another study, Dr. Rife injected cancer virus into 400 mice. And then after they all developed cancer, he used a frequency generator to cure every single one of them. So it's a great controversy. And if you haven't seen that or seen any of the information on it, you might want to look up Dr. Royal Rife and frequencies. So he was the first to say viruses and cancer. Now we also have bacterial connections. So another person, Alan Cantwell, he's the author of the Cancer Microbe, says that there are all kinds of bacterial connections. So this is pretty deep and in-depth, and even if we just get the idea, I just wanted to try to present to you something that was written that, definitely has been backed up, so that you do know that there are many bacteria that can form and can are connected with cancer. And I think the last couple of lines are very good. Microbiologists love to separate viruses, bacteria, mycoplasma, and fungi as distinct entities. But really what happens is that bacteria can be infected with viruses. Parasites can carry heavy metals. Everything is interrelated. I don't know that I could say that bacteria carry heavy metals, but I do positively know that parasites do. And so there's so much interconnectivity between different kinds of pathogens. And that's why it's important for us to know the differences and maybe be able to work with some of these specific pathogens that have been proven to be connected with cancer. Now, this is probably one of my favorites, but Hulda Clark published The Cure for All Cancers in 1993. And she was very emphatic to say that one parasite, which I even have a hard time pronouncing, but the Phaseolopsis busci, if I'm saying that close, can be fed by several environmental toxins. And a lot of those are just isopropyl alcohol and things that are in our shampoo and our cosmetics and our soaps and things like that. She was very adamant that these are really causing this parasite to kick into high gear and be cancerous. She was really discredited quite a bit, but I think she has amazing information. I actually have a list of more parasites that she said were connected with cancer. And several times in my other testing, I have been able to suggest to someone, especially it was men for some reason, 6 different times using Dr. Hulda Clark's information and a list of things that she noted were connected with cancer. And when somebody was carrying a lot of those in their system, again, I couldn't call my MSA a medical test, but just the suggestion that a person had many of these ideas in their system, And within a week, 6 gentlemen, different gentlemen at different times over the years, knew that they definitely had prostate cancer. And all I was doing was identifying some different parasites. Now, she is known for the wording for parasites. She is German, but she was really trying to say that there were many pathogens connected with it. And then when she emphasized the one parasite, she kind of got a little bit of negativity. But, I just think her website, and information, look for the evidence and be the judge, is so precise. And so now we know that hundreds of years of people, all their remedies for parasites have been very, very amazing. And so I'm not sure if everybody has heard about fenbendazole. I don't have a little segment or page on it or anything for you to see, but fenbendazole is also something that they have been touting as a cancer protective idea. It's kind of like ivermectin. It had its origins in parasite control for all kinds of animals, and now people are using that or the same type of an idea for their own cancer. So it again is tied to parasites. So we really need to know that people are looking for the cause, because if you don't know the cause, you can't really be working to cure anything. And I think that's why we're getting so confused sometimes on some of the things that have been suggested for us when we know somebody or a loved one, or maybe some of you have gone through a cancer procedure. Another big one is Dr. Simoncini, who's an oncologist from Rome, and he says that fungus and molds are a connection with cancer. And he's been using baking soda for a cancer treatment for over 30 years. Now, I actually have an email from him. I was able to email him and ask him how long to use his baking soda treatment, because what he says is that you should take, I think, I'm kind of trying to remember, a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of baking soda in water daily to help with a cancer problem. And so I emailed him, and I've saved that email, but I didn't think about putting it in here today. But he is saying that you should do that about 30 days on and then take a break. And so something so simple could be used for cancer. Now, what he's saying is that the baking soda isn't necessarily for pH balance, but that the baking soda actually breaks up the connection with the cancer, that these molds, fungus and molds, have a huge connectivity, and it breaks up, and they tend to break down easier and fall apart. I'm saying that in a real layman's terms, because that's how he says that it does happen. So another thing that was so interesting about Dr. Simoncini is that he is an oncologist, but when he was doing surgery as in his med school days, that when they would cut somebody open, that they would see lots of white film on somebody, as they cut through them. And they were always taught that white film was just part of the body. And he is now saying, no, it's not. That is the fungus and the mold connection. And that is huge. So he is saying that the baking soda will actually break that connection down. And I'm still kind of struggling for one more word I wanted to say about this, but we'll go on and maybe I'll think of it later. But he has huge connections and is definitely saying that cancer is connected to fungus and mold. So the whole principle of resonant frequency is that it's a phenomenon for a vibrating system. And so if we have an external force, another system, which is what the WAVwatch is, it would basically be working to help frequencies inside your body oscillate at a faster frequency, vibrate faster and faster and faster and faster until they break down. So that is a physics concept. And so what we use is resonant frequencies on the WAVwatch. So is everybody still with me? We're now talking about acoustical sounds. Fabien Maman, a French composer and a bioenergetic healer, also found that through a series of acoustic sounds, he could explode cancer cells as well as energize and empower healthy ones. Now, ladies, I wish I could sing. I wish I knew exactly what he does. This is fabulous. He taught 2 women with breast cancer to use their voices to tone these same frequencies for 3.5 hours every day for a month. One woman's cancer vanished without a trace. The other woman decided to undergo surgery after his experiment, and to her surgeon's bewilderment, the tumor had greatly reduced in size and literally shriveled up. So again, I can't make any claims, but I know I can't sing. I know I can't tone for 3.5 hours. I was really impressed with those women's ability, but I know I can wear the WAVwatch for 3.5 hours every day if I thought I had a problem. So these are some suggestions and some connections. You know, researchers prove sound frequencies can kill cancer. I'm not sure that the medical community would agree with that yet. I'm not making any statements. I'm just telling you what was reported and given you the website to look that up yourself. But again, this is what resonant frequency is. And so this is what the WAVwatch is all about. So you're wearing the watch on your left wrist, which absorbs energy. And then because of the speaker on the back side, your one cell underneath that speaker will start to vibrate, and then it will cause another cell to vibrate, and then another cell, and then basically it just zips through your body at 4.3 times the speed of sound. So that's what resonance is about. And here's another backup with some acoustical sounds. And somebody that taught, I thought, Fabien Maman, if I'm saying his name right, women to tone using the same frequencies for 3.5 hours every day for a month. So I don't know if we could take that idea and play the WAVwatch, some of the frequencies that I'm going to show you in a minute, for 3.5 hours every day for a month. So these are the pathogens that I was able to put on or to include in your folder that's labeled pathogens. And then we're going to kind of see what they're all about, basically. So I couldn't put everything in. Some of you may know by looking at frequencies from some different sources. There's about 12 different sources that have published frequency lists and measurements. There are thousands of frequencies for different kinds of cancer. And I wish I could have put all of those on the WAVwatch, but I do not want to draw too much attention to make it sound like that's the major purpose of a WAVwatch. That is not the major purpose. It is for self-care. It is to take better care of yourself so that hopefully you're preventing some things. But so I just have a small grouping of ideas. And so you'll see right in the middle the C word, Cancer General 1, Cancer General 2, and Cancer General 3. And those are the main things that I have on the WAVwatch that are labeled that way. And again, they're general. And this is using Hulda Clark's idea that everything in a similar idea runs in the same frequency band. So she's saying that parasites might run in a low frequency band, and bacteria might run in, they will run in a different frequency band that she could specifically measure. And then viruses would run in a completely different frequency band. So I took that idea, maybe I ran with it, maybe that wasn't the right concept, but I just tried to do general frequencies because I thought they would cover the broad spectrum of frequencies that might be helpful, since I couldn't put thousands of frequencies on the WAVwatch. There wasn't enough room, and that was not my intention to make it a cancer product, but just to give you some information and some things that you could do to protect yourself while you are looking and learning about other things if you have been diagnosed with a problem. So basically, aflatoxins are a mold. There's lots of information about it, and they're produced, and you're going to see these more from our corn, our peanuts, cottonseed, milk, and tree nuts. So most of the time we're going to see the list that's on there almonds, pistachio, walnut, coconut, even Brazil nut would actually have a possibility of some aflatoxins in it. So when you get, they're very toxic and carcinogenic, and connected to liver problems especially. So this is one frequency set that I have on the WAVwatch. Very easy to play. Question. Anybody have a question? All right. So another one is a cytomegalovirus. So women especially have trouble with breast cancer and the cytomegalovirus. So just another, connection here for you. So you'll know why I included the cytomegalovirus in that grouping. So huge connection. And then it's also connected with the Epstein-Barr virus that we'll talk about here in a little bit. So, we want to protect ourselves from all of these things very specifically. We don't know when we could be exposed to them. We could carry them in our bodies for a long period of time. And so you definitely want to play through these, maybe once every 2 weeks, maybe once every week. It just kind of depends on what kind of time level you have and how worried. Maybe you have several members of your family that have had a problem with cancer. I'd play those frequencies quite a lot, and I'll give you a few more suggestions as we go through. So another one is E. coli. And so there are many cases of food poisoning that they are really connecting E. coli with. And so I thought this was very interesting that colorectal cancer could originate from food poisoning, even if the cases are brief and mild. So a lot of us have had food poisoning, or we've gotten sick after we ate chicken, at some drive-in or takeout place or something. Somebody just said something about that to me the other day, and I didn't even think to say, oh my goodness, make sure you run the cancer pathogen, folder. But it is very important that we know. And that's why E. coli was put into that particular folder. Now, I also knew about E. coli for the breast health connections, and I actually have a testimony that's on the right side, and you've seen it if you were there and worked with me on the women's workshop that I did a couple of weeks ago. So this is the same testimony, but it's unique. I had a lady that I screened with the MSA, and it thought she might have E. coli. And so it's like, oh my goodness, we want to protect you from this. And she felt a little bit of an energy in her colon area. And then she said it just swooped up to her breast and squiggled through her breast and then zipped on out of her shoulder. So that was very, very interesting. Am I making any claims? No, I'm just saying she felt a reaction. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if I felt a reaction to anything that was in the cancer connection, I would play it several times for a long amount of time and continue to play it. And I actually have, and I'll tell you about it here in a minute. So it's this one, it's the Epstein-Barr virus. When I first put this folder together, I was just walking around my house, and the watch was playing on this folder, going through the paces, going from one to the other, working all on its own. And all of a sudden I felt this stabbing sensation in my thumb area and up to my wrist. And I mean, I went, ah, and it was in both hands equally. And it, it lasted about, 20, 30 seconds, not very long at all. And then it went away. And so, of course, I'm thinking, oh, great, I might have Epstein-Barr. It's cancerous. I wonder what that means. But you know what happened? I woke up the next morning and all of my arthritis was gone. I had developed some arthritis right in that thumb area, and I'd struggled with it for several months. And it went right away. It ran for 8 minutes. I felt pain for 20, 30 seconds, and I have not had any of that arthritis feeling return at all. Now, I played it several times, and I still continue to play it as a protection because Epstein-Barr virus is cancerous. and it's connected with many women's breast cancer also. So again, that's another reason to play through these. Maybe there's something that's bothering you somewhere else. Making sense? All right, so somebody might need to mute their as they come on, but I think we're good now. So anyway, please, if you've had a reaction to anything, remember that and play it in depth for a while until you feel that your body has connected with it. And then, you know, I play it just for protection. Sometimes I'll just isolate the Epstein-Barr virus and play it all night long and loop it through. So, and again, I've never had any reconnection, never had any problem with my arthritis in my hands again. This is also a testimony from somebody else, and you may have seen this one. Again, it was in the women's program, but I have a lot of women's testimonies because that's what I work with. But this lady, I also have a video on my internet site, and she said her hand started to tingle, and then she felt a tingling, kind of a chill up and down her back. And then she noticed a difference in her tongue, a numbness while playing the Epstein-Barr virus. And then we played the second set, and then she felt a tightening in both of her breasts where she'd had breast cancer before. And this is unbelievably rare to have breast cancer in both sides. So the fact that she felt Epstein-Barr in both breasts was very interesting. And she had used Epstein-Barr homeopathics before she knew that she did have Epstein-Barr. So we just tried it. So you may not know if you have anything whatsoever. I didn't know that I might be connected with Epstein-Barr, so I was so glad that I just played that particular folder for protection for me. And again, I'm not saying that I have changed anything in my body. I'm not trying to make claims here. It's kind of hard to step real easily, you know, say the right things correctly, but I'm just trying to say that these are actions that you could take for your balancing your system. And now we have H. pylori, so that's another one that's in there. Says 2/3 of the world's population is infected with H. pylori. It's connected with gastric cancer, lymphoid tissue, lymphomas, pancreatic cancer, and cardiovascular problems. Gosh, majority of people, I don't know if you're reading with me, the majority of people will not become ill from the bacteria. See, so you don't even know that you have H. pylori necessarily. So that's why you might want to run this pathogen folder several times, or you know, once a week, once every 2 weeks, according to some of your concerns. Now, another idea, I think that you would want to run this more if you know, if you've gone traveling, if you're overseas, if you've been around a lot of parasites or, you know, that kind of thing. I would run that and some parasite folders. And we've talked about that before just a little bit. So it is very important when you've been in an area that you feel you might have been contaminated, or lots of people, or maybe you've been out camping and your bathroom facilities weren't the best, you know, run some of these things. You're trying to protect yourself. Another one is hepatitis B. So hepatitis B really causes a lot of liver cancer, liver problems. It's transmitted. Again, 30% of people have no symptoms. And I think that's really something I wanted to emphasize and to show you, to have it written down so that you could refer to it again if you need to, just by going back to the
Alexa, stop.
Hello? Just by
Audrey needs.
Somebody needs to mute.
Sorry.
Yes, please mute. So anyway, you want to make sure that you play some of these because, again, 30% of us don't know that and don't have any symptoms, although we could be carrying hepatitis B. So again, that's why I put that folder together. It's a compilation of things that are known to cause cancer that most of the time we don't even realize we're carrying, and we could carry it for years. Another one is the HIV. And gosh, there's lots of information on that. And I see that causes lots and lots of different kinds of cancers. And again, we don't know that we're carrying it. We don't even know exactly where we might be picking it up. Lots of new information out about HIV, but again, it is listed in our folder so that possibly we have some protection or something that we can, go to, especially if we've been told that that there is any information that we need to be working with, connecting ourselves and HIV. But why wouldn't you just run all of those pathogen folders and forget about them? And especially if pay attention to one, if you have a reaction to it, isolate that one and run it longer. Now, Luc Montagnier, if I'm saying his name right, is a French virologist, and he won the Nobel Prize in 2008 for the HIV, for discovering that. Now, I added one sentence at the end of this, and I searched and searched. I could not find it. And maybe I just didn't, get to the exact right spot, but he has a video, and it is in French, of course. And in that video, he stated that frequencies may be very useful for different viruses. And there was, I had it at one point in time, there was a quote that was translated from French, and, it was up on the screen, and, so it was printed, and it said that frequencies may be very useful for different viruses. Now, he was really ostracized for that. He has just died last month, actually, 2 of this year, 2/22. But the last several years of his life, he was very open about saying that homeopathy, which is frequencies, and what I have in my office, homeopathy, he was a definite fan of homeopathy and all of the frequencies that this system uses. So lots of information about that. But again, he was not welcomed with those ideas into the medical community. They did not agree with that. But he spoke up several times and said again that frequencies could be useful. And he was very specific too, even for the coronavirus, but I could not find the exact quote that I wanted to share with you. But again, Luc Montagnier, and I think Montagnier, I believe that he is on Robert Kennedy's website, several places. That's where I saw it. If anybody wants to do some looking and research on their own, don't just believe what I say, or because especially since I couldn't find the exact quote in his picture that I wanted to show you, where he was saying that viruses were helpful. But I am thrilled that he likes homeopathy. It tells you the same thing. I think I need to take a breath on this one, because I don't know if many people know that the polio vaccine is connected to cancer. We have to think about this quite a bit. There was a government researcher discovered that when this vaccine was cultured, injected, and cultured, that the hamsters they were working with developed tumors. The cancer-causing virus was isolated and dubbed the SV40 because it was the 40th simian virus discovered. Read this real carefully with me. I'm in the lower portion of it. Alarm spread through the scientific community as researchers realized that nearly every dose of the vaccine had been contaminated. In 1961, federal health officials ordered vaccine manufacturers to screen for the virus and eliminate it from the vaccine. Worried about creating a panic, they kept the discovery of SB40 under wraps and never recalled existing stocks. For 2 more years, millions of additional people were needlessly exposed. bringing the total to 98 million Americans from 1955 to 1963. So because of the polio vaccine being contaminated with a monkey virus that causes cancer, we've had some very questionable things happen about our vaccines. Gee, I don't want to go there, but the vaccine problem that we're having now is not new. Vaccines have been fraught with so many errors and lies and stories, and I just thought you might like to hear this one. I don't know if you've heard it before. So at that point in time, they were saying 98 million Americans. And of course, that's somebody that did some outside work and research. Again, this is not the medical community, openly sharing this information with us.
Linda,
And,
I'm not,
I can't,
excuse me,
yes.
Doctor. This is Dr. Connie here. I'm not seeing the screen on which you're reading from. I just see you in my screen. I don't see any words. Were you reading? Were we supposed to be seeing something?
Yes, I thought I asked you the very first one if you could see my screen. Okay,
Oh, I thought
great.
that we could see you. My apologies.
Is anybody else not been seeing the screen?
I can't see it, Linda.
Well, I guess you're just listening to me again today, but I'm reading off my screen, obviously. I do not know what's wrong. But of course, like I said, the last 10 minutes, I had to change computers. And then my different computer that I had, the Zoom call wouldn't work right on it. And so maybe I guess I'm not surprised, but very, wow. Okay. So.
It's still great information.
So anyway, it's,
And I'm new. This is Marjorie, and I cannot see, but I look forward to more information and to getting the product.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now if I click again, can anybody see the screen now?
Yes.
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 Oh my goodness.
Yes, I can.
Okay, wow, this is crazy. I just thought you were all there with me. Can you still see it?
Yes.
Yes, I can.
Yes.
Oh, wow, this is so crazy. Okay, so for half of it, you haven't even been seeing my screen. So anyway, this is the great information about the simian 40 monkey virus. So this is huge. We are not really realizing that so many of us were exposed. I mean, almost everybody that I know has probably had the polio vaccine. Is there anybody today, in the, I don't know what age range, but that might not have taken a shot between 1955 and 1963.
Yep. You took my
So, pardon? Huge. So I'll leave that on the screen just a little bit so that you can read through it if you want. I was reading the bottom two ideas or two sentences. For 2 more years, millions of additional people were needlessly exposed, again, with vaccines that the medical community or the pharmaceuticals knew had been exposed to the simian 40 monkey virus that was connected with cancer. So 98 million Americans were exposed to that concept, to that problem, to those viruses, whatever word you want to say. And again, I'm emphasizing that this is not the only time that vaccinations have been in question. Okay, can you still see? All about Candida. I kind of talked about this a little bit already, but again, this is Dr. Simoncini saying that Candida acts like a fungus, or if cancer acts like a fungus, looks like a fungus, feeds like a fungus, grows aerobically like a fungus, can be killed like a fungus, so it must be a fungus. That's his idea. So we're missing so much out on making sure that our body is as clean as we can get it from different kinds of funguses. So obviously that is on the WAVwatch, different kinds of fungus. Another one is a schistosoma. So this is a parasite, and it is a blood fluke bothering the liver, colorectal cancer, lymphomas, and huge problems with the cervix. So this is another one. So that is on the WAVwatch. That's on our selection. So again, if you were playing that selection and the first time you played through it, if you had a reaction down in your cervical area, or you felt something, your liver area, you felt something in your body, that's a clue to you that maybe there's some action being taken in your body with those frequencies, and to play it longer. Not everybody is going to have a reaction like I had on my hands, where I literally felt it so strong. I went, ah, I felt it. And I immediately activated my WAVwatch 1 second by holding it so that I could see what was playing on the screen, and it was the Epstein-Barr virus. So you would have to kind of do that to, be able to see what was playing. And once in a while, we hold the bottom button on the WAVwatch just a little too long and we shut it off. So then it's kind of hard to tell what we were reacting to. But hopefully you can just remember to hold it for just a second, and then it will wake the watch up. You'll see the clock come across the screen. Now, I hope everybody can see this one. See that parasite testimony? All right. We got on just in time, didn't we? So this testimony's from, it says very relaxing session, approximately 6 hours after the WAVwatch session for parasites. I passed a large parasite, and this was her image. I had no pain or discomfort, increased energy, decrease in bloating. So what she did in my office was wear the WAVwatch for 30 minutes. She was part of my prototyping group. So I had about 42 different people wear the WAVwatch for 30 minutes for parasites. When I screened them on the MSA, and it said that it thought that they had parasites. Now, she was the only one that really shared this with me. And of course, she doesn't want her real name used. I could have used anonymous, but no one else really shared with me that they had seen anything. But in our testing, within 30 minutes after they wore the WAVwatch, the MSA did not pick up parasites. And somebody came back at a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months, and 3 months. It was a great effort on volunteers to come back and get retested, rescreened, and just wearing the WAVwatch for 30 minutes, we did not see it at any of those time points. So even the people at 3 months, the WAVwatch did not pick up any parasites at that time. So it seemed to stay gone for the 3 months that we could see, but again, I didn't check every person. I didn't check 42 people over again at that 3 month cycle. It was just one person who volunteered and came back. So that's why I'm saying, parasites are the biggest problem that I think we have. Many other health professionals in the natural field will back that up and say parasites are huge. They're undiagnosed. My MSA will screen for over, I think it's 160 parasites. And I'm pretty sure, say that again. So the MSA will screen for about 160 parasites. And I know that, the medical community cannot test you for 160 parasites. So what I'm saying is that people are carrying parasites over and over again, and it is something that's not being addressed by the medical community. And obviously that's why we're reaching out and we're looking at ivermectin and we're looking at fenbendazole, because these are some parasite things. And they do have some similar products that are being developed and not change very much, and then the price tag goes up astronomically when changes are made and it is labeled for human consumption. So people are looking around trying to educate themselves, because parasites are such a problem in our system and cancer connected. I think this is kind of interesting, the International Agency for Research on Cancer Carcinogenic Pathogen list. But what I was trying to tell you is that, you know, I went to this list and it just had chemical after chemical, which was, you know, totally amazing too. But they kind of hid the pathogens. They were hidden among the chemicals. So I was able to kind of pull some of them out to kind of show you that they are on this carcinogenic list. But again, hidden in the middle of chemicals. Now, they may have updated the list since I saw this and worked with it, because I actually did some of this research about, in 2008 was when I researched a lot of this. Now, we're just kind of tying this up and wrapping this up, but we've already talked about this extensively last week, that there were 8 teeth connected to breast cancer, just breast cancer. That's all I'm talking about. And so these are dramatically linked to breast cancer. So another thing that we should add for our protection once in a while is playing through the dental folder. You know, let it just go right on through and play every single idea. Now, those are at about 35 minutes long. And so that's a good one to play at night. You know, when you go to bed, just play the dental and play through it. So I'm not sure if I've given this example before, but I have worked with a chiropractor, and I knew that his wife had died of breast cancer. And when I showed him a little booklet that I have in my office that I printed that shows this list of the 8 teeth connected with breast cancer, he kind of, you know, he just looked at me and he said, well, I tell everybody that my wife died of dental cancer. Not breast cancer, it was dental cancer. And then he pointed to the tooth that she had problems with. And basically he said that she'd already done all this testing, you know, the mammograms and whatever they needed to start radiation and chemo. And she was going through that series when she just decided to have her teeth cleaned. Nothing was going on. They weren't hurting. There was no problem. She just went to have her teeth cleaned. And he said, how is it that pus shot all over the technician's shield and hit the ceiling with force from a tooth that was not even bothering her or not even painful? So ladies, we've got to remember, and gentlemen, you know, too, because I've had guys come in that have had a dental infection and it goes right down to their chest and causes a problem in their, so the men that a lot of times have breast cancer, it is because of dental work. So it may not hurt at all. This is just another thing that we could do to be proactive for different kinds of cancer. Again, I'm just saying be proactive. There's no promises made. But then also in Europe, they really don't work with people who have cancer until all their teeth are cleaned out and everything is, I'm not for sure what procedures they use, but they do a lot of work before they work with breast cancer or with different kinds of cancers. And again, that's Europe. They are working a lot more with dental and cancer. And then the last thing, you know, I just kind of want to say, as I wrap this up for some information that I had, was use all the germ and detox frequencies. So we've talked about how bacteria is connected with different kinds of cancers. They've got names of the bacteria, but there might be more that they've discovered, or maybe there's more that's hidden that we're not being told about. So play all of the bacteria folder, play all of the mold folder and the candida folder, play the parasite folder, and play the virus folders for some extra protection, along with the very specific frequencies that I have labeled pathogens. So if you have lots of time, you could run through all the germ folders. If you have a shorter amount of time, but at night, again, is when I use the pathogen folder. I'll just start it on the first one and let it play. And it's got, I think it's 25 different ideas in it. And so those are all about 8 minutes long. And so you can play those and then, play them again another time. Same way with the detox folders. You want to play through those once in a while. So that kind of wraps up what I had to say, is that there's so many ideas and things that you can do. So hopefully you'll be able to wear the WAVwatch for some specific ideas to protect yourself, as much as realize, oh, I've got a headache. There's a frequency for headache on the WAVwatch. So it's very multi-purpose, and that's what it's used for. Lots and lots of different things. So I am back to being embarrassed again, because you listened to almost a whole presentation and didn't see any of the information that I worked 2 hours to do. So anyway, any questions or that I could answer, or any comments, any testimonies? Anybody want to?
Even though we didn't see any of the screens that you had printed up for us, it was a very informative and it's valuable information, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm gonna have to try to do it all over again just to put it back on Facebook Live. Isn't that crazy?
Oh, great.
Anyway. Okay.
Well, we can watch it from there, I guess.
Yeah, there we go.
Linda, I have a question.
Sure, Lena.
I have a customer that is really suffering with cancer, because stage 4 colon cancer. So, I mean, he is running the pathogens and he's running the pain trauma. Is there anything else, like maybe nerve? Should he be doing nerves or something like that? I mean, I don't know if it's the cancer is eating at the nerves and that's what's causing him so much pain, or what to recommend.
Lena, I think that's a good idea, and make sure he's gone through all of the germ folders and the detox ones too. Sometimes we detox a little bit and we're out of pain a little bit more, but I think the nerves one is an excellent one. Again, everybody's a little bit different situation, and somebody might have some damage on nerves with the same type of cancer, and the next person might not,
Mm-hmm.
Do you know if he's having chemo and radiation?
Well, he just had the tumor removed, so he has to heal from that before they do any kind of treatment.
Okay.
And also,
so that's actually good, because we know that those aren't causing anything yet then. So
right, yes. And then also the watch band, he just is having trouble with that. And then so they got a watch band that it's magnetic. Is there, I mean, for instance, if how the metal bands that we used to have on our watches that were stretchy, will that interfere with the sound therapy?
I don't like them. That's why I chose not to use them. As far as I could tell, it wasn't clear. One person or one research area thought it might, and another one said no. So I just decided to try to use something a little bit different than metal for the wristband, if he could do that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. We'll just find something for him. Thank you so much, Linda. I appreciate these meetings. They're awesome.
I have a few thoughts there, Linda. Just doing intestinal, have the parasites been run? Right, let's just.
She said yes. She said he'd been running the germ ones.
Okay, I forgot which folder parasites were in. Beautiful. And all over Amazon are like Velcro wristbands and hundreds of options. Cloth ones. I mean, there's Etsy. Just and what she probably knows which. It's Fitbit 22 centimeters. Is that right?
It is. It's a Versa Fitbit, and it's written in the booklet, and it's also on the website for that right size.
Perfect. I appreciate that. I appreciate the added information.
Yeah, and I wanted to share too. I think I shared with you, Linda, but not on a call yet. One of my children called me one night at 1 a.m, just barely able to communicate. And I thought, what is going on? And I was just getting into bed and thought, yeah, I'd rather not drive 20 minutes, but it became clear that that would be helpful. So I hopped in the car and I asked, do you have a fever? No. And stomach pain? Yes. Do you like vomiting? And what came to me was probably food poisoning. She'd eaten out at a fast food restaurant that she'd eaten at many times. But when I got there, she was just slowly responding. I don't want to say non-responsive, but just like, just slumped against the wall with a terrible headache. And so I grabbed the WAVwatch off the counter and put it on food poisoning. And within 10 minutes, I saw her countenance change. She went into more of a sleep mode. Her breathing changed. She was obviously relieved. And I said, hey, do you feel like you could walk up the stairs now to bed? Because she was just sitting in the bathroom on the floor, leaned against the wall. And she said, yeah, actually, I think I could. And her voice wasn't weak and shaky anymore. She walked upstairs and slept for the night. So remarkable. So thank
Food
you.
poisoning. So now you want to make sure you go through some of those pathogens, the bacteria and stuff, because now, if you didn't already know, which you might have, but food poisoning, they've got it connected with cancer. It can set in your system for a long, long time. And I have heard that before, that sometimes food poisoning, they don't know why, but sometimes people have a 10-year shorter lifespan. I've heard that one too. So huge connection. We don't know what all else food poisoning can cause. So really play some things, maybe for a month or so on that.
Beautiful.
All right, other comments? Patty, did you happen to get on today?
This is Janie.
All right, sure, Janie.
I just have a question. Do you have any other files on this watch that have like the vitamins, the minerals, anything like that in them, like you do on your COVID? You have one?
I don't. That's the only place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Linda.
Any other? Yes.
My next door neighbor gets migraines. So I put the watch on her. She went home and 10 minutes later, she's back and she said she felt so much better.
Oh, wow. Perfect. Any other testimonies? Anything we could? Marjorie, did you have a comment?
Well, I just figured out how to remove the mute to make it mute instead of unmute. No, I'm looking for something like this. I have no issues that I know. And I thank you so much for this wonderful device. I will probably buy one. I'm impressed.
Well, thank you. It's got lots of ideas on it. So that's what we need to do, is just keep trying different ideas and use it for different purposes. And sometimes it surprises you. One of my favorite stories is a gentleman that called and he said he bought the WAVwatch for his wife with Parkinson's. And then, I'm talking to him on the phone and you could tell he kind of got embarrassed and he didn't quite know what to say. And he cleared his throat, and finally he just burst out and he said, and we sleep really close together. And so I'm, again, I'm still on the phone going, wow, okay, and then he kind of blurted out again and he said, I could feel the frequencies when my wife was wearing the WAVwatch at night. Isn't that interesting? So then his next comment was, and I got up the next morning and my feet didn't hurt. So I'm saying, oh, that's really neat. That's interesting. And his comment again was, Linda, you don't understand. My feet have hurt for 15 years. I have taken medication for 15 years. So we don't know what frequency specifically was working from the Parkinson's. It wasn't labeled neuropathy. It wasn't labeled for foot pain, but the Parkinson's frequencies cleared out his foot pain that he had had for those 15 years. And he called me again in 2 weeks and he was completely off his medications. So I want to just encourage everybody to try. You have no idea what frequency might do something for you. So then the rest of the story, I asked how his wife was doing. He goes, well, it's not quite as good a story, you know. And it turned out that she had been playing the Parkinson frequencies, which was great. But then I suggested to her that she go to the nerve folder and also add those in. And there was one that was labeled tremors, and that one helped her. It wasn't, 100%, but it did help her. So, we do want to play with some different frequencies. It's just like, retuning your radio. You're just changing to a different channel. You're looking for some different music. So it's not going to hurt you. You're just playing through and kind of trying to use some common sense or learn something, hopefully like today. So, all right. Anybody else?
Janie again.
Yeah.
Every time I play rheumatoid arthritis, I get horrible pains. Is there any other suggestion that it might be for, or what else I should play that would help? Or,
Wow.
I don't know if I have rheumatoid arthritis. I've never been told that, but I get a reaction every time.
So do you actually have stiff hands or anything like that?
No,
or
not really. I don't have any indications of something like that I think anyway.
How long is the pain lasting?
Well, it's just like when I play the frequency. It pretty much.
So is it lasting for 8 minutes? If you play it for 8 minutes, it lasts the whole 8 minutes?
Pretty much it does. It's kind of intermittent type thing through there.
Huh. It seems like it might be doing something, but I'm not sure what the amount of pain is, that's causing. But rheumatoid arthritis is also connected with a lot of allergies and viruses. So you might play through some of those ideas. I think Vienna had something, and maybe somebody else has something to add. Let's put our heads together.
One thought on that is, in other kinds of energy modalities, sometimes when people feel a pain, like I've been doing something recently and I came up with a nightmare. And then I talked to some other people using the modality, and they said, oh yeah, a certain number of days or weeks in, that's kind of common. And it's that trapped energy, that trapped emotion leaving the body. So better out than in. So I have had people say, yeah, I've just like suddenly got this pain, and it can be where they had a previous injury, and it will go in reverse order. So an injury they had last year, they might feel some pain there just briefly, and then it's gone. And it's that trauma leaving that area. And then it'll go to the next closest, the year previous and the year previous. So I'm curious whether if someone's inclined, go ahead and keep playing it through, because my one thought is it could be clearing things out, but follow your gut.
That's what I've been thinking too, but it just seems to stay there, and it's been there ever since I got this watch. Basically, I've always noticed.
Wow.
And it's really funny. I can't understand why it's just that one file that does that every time. So.
That is a question. Interesting. Now I'm doing a little bit of muscle testing for you as we sit here, and I'm not I'm not getting that you have rheumatoid arthritis. And then I'm asking, should you play the files? And it's saying no. Maybe you shouldn't play those files. Give it I don't know how often you do it.
Not very often.
Yeah, because it's painful. But I do get viruses that you should play the virus folder.
Oh, I do that. I play about
Yeah.
everything, actually. I love
Yeah.
this thing.
I
Okay.
appreciate that. All right.
Thank you.
Is Patty on? Patty Tobin, were you able to get on today? I had a lady that she did have a testimony. She has stage 4 lung cancer, and she had already completed chemo and radiation, and they, gave her a certain amount of time. And anyway, she has been using the WAVwatch, and she is doing well, and she had a very positive testimony on it. I don't want to take her thunder. Maybe I'll get her to write it down now. But anyway, she did really feel that the WAVwatch had been helpful for her. And she's doing lots of things, of course, but that was one of the tools that she had. Well, gals, I don't want to hold you too long, or gentlemen, gals, guys, however what I should be saying it. But thank you so much for joining today, and thank you for your patience. And I'm about to have a meltdown here because one of my computers absolutely burned up, 5 minutes before we started. So I will be going back to the computer store, I guess. And thank you for your patience again, and thanks for joining in and sharing the information. Any other comments before I close it out? Okay,
Linda,
thanks. Yes.
It's Barb Sunstang, and this is the first time I've got the opportunity to watch. And so I just want to say thanks for inviting me, and I look forward to learning some more about it.
Well, good. Thanks for coming on.
Okay.
All right. Don't forget, you can hopefully, we'll have to clean this one up again, but WAVwatch Frequency Fanatics has some live replays on this, and we have other videos on there. There are also videos on the website, and it's just wavwatch.com. And then I also have a YouTube channel, and that's just WAVwatch, WAVwatch. All right. Thanks, everybody.